Now we gotta go back to those roots and we gotta fix this problem. Nearby, yeah, that's so. What I'm trying to tell you is that here on this slide, I have made some food items. Now, I'm not promoting them, but I'm just giving you an idea through this. Food is a signal to your body. Body produces hormone in response to this food that you take, no matter whatever kind of food you take, out of the three main nutrients. And those hormones are the one that then make energy or building block for you out of that food. If you do not have functional hormones, they would not be able to utilize this food that you have sent into your body. And what would happen? That extra food that cannot be used would either be converted into a toxic chemical, part of which one is called uric acid, or it would become fat, which is bad for you because it will cause inflammation in your body. Next slide. Why there are people that are moving, there are people that are big, there are people that are not healthy, because when we see on this side of the slide, this is where we started our life. On the left side, this is what we become, whether we take the path of the right health or we take the path of a health that's bad. You know, lack of attention to the detail is causing us on the right side these protruding bellies, for example. These bellies that you see, they are causing a lot of trouble for body. Okay, this is not without a price, and this is the reason why there is diabetes, there is hardening of the vessels, there is sleep apnea, there is poor sleep, there is sexual dysfunction, there is all those other things, there is cancer and all those things. Let's understand that. Next go slide. Okay, so we're going to talk about some hormones now quickly so that you could understand. One of the most important hormone that induces hunger is called ghrelin. It's produced in the stomach. Ghrelin works on three different or four different areas of the brain, triggering a hunger signal that makes sure that we are desperate for food and we go and look for it. What does provoke ghrelin? Well, one thing is if you didn't eat for at least 12 hours, beyond that time, you will run out of your glycogen, which is the stored form of glucose in your body. And then the body will start looking for fat as an energy. And during that transition time, you will get a ghrelin increase. The idea is that um, the ghrelin would not be there forever. It will go and spike your brain, trigger your brain. And if you are impatient, you will go and eat something. You will say, I'm hungry. You would never give that time for your body to start looking for an alternative source of energy, which is the fat and in abundance nowadays throughout the human body, meaning the fat in the liver and the fat around the organs and the subcutaneous fat that is in our tissues. So, so the ghrelin remains high for a little bit time. And there are counter-regulatory hormones that then get released, and they make sure that our body starts making glucose out of other things that are in store for us. Those hormones are epinephrine, norepinephrine, cortisol, growth hormone. Those all rise early in the morning, and they are considered counter-regulatory. And obviously, because of the lack of the food, that we didn't eat food throughout the night, insulin is down, and that's what we would hope. The insulin is down. But in the case of people that have taken a late meal, their insulin is still high. And that's causing problem, inflammation in the body. And we have talked about that in the previous talks. So remember this thing, that those counter-regulatory hormones are there to help you increase your glucose, start looking for alternative energy source, and that is where the fasting comes in. By the way, all religions in the world promote fasting, and Islamic faith wasn't any different. So, and in Islamic faith, uh, God indicated that do fast, it is good for you. Now, obviously, it had already given education about the fact that if you're sick, or if you're pregnant, or you have if you're traveling, you have other things, you're not supposed to fast because that fasting will be a danger to you. But we're talking about healthy people trying to be healthy. Now, you, for general purpose of fasting to lose weight, which is the most inexpensive and the most humane way to make your body healthy, remove toxins from it, cause recycling in the body, all that, and also auto eating of your own old tissue called autophagy is achieved through fasting, depending on the number of hours you're fasting. But minimum 12 hours is where your body is burning glucose in one form or the other. All other nutrients come after 12 hours. So that's why I ask for a minimum 14 hours fast. Why? Because you would at least have given your body 2 hours chance of burning fat that's sitting in your body waiting for it to be burned, by the way. And what happens to that chronic fat that's sitting there for a long, long time that we have deposited for over the course of 3, 4 decades? That fat is draining blood from your circulation, by the way. And every pound of the fat is creating literally hundreds and hundreds of capillaries that are feeding that area. And that whole process is sucking blood out of your vital organs and out of your muscles. So the presence of fat is actually squeezing the life of the muscles because they are the one who get most vulnerable with the excess fat. Let's go to the next. There are, so for example, cortisol is a stress hormone. We all of us are nowadays in this life are stressed, one way or the other. Family stress, job stress, uh, professional stress, money stress, you name it, stress of the children, relationship issues. So stress causes cortisol release. It is a stress hormone. But cortisol, unfortunately, behaves completely differently when it is in an acute phase or when it is in a chronic phase. Meaning, a chronic stress released, cortisol released by the chronic stress causes and favors more fat deposits around the belly, which is the BRI, the body round index. An acute phase release of the cortisol is actually providing you with glucose when you don't have the glucose. So it is not the acute phase, it is the chronic stress that we need to reduce by meditations, by prayers, by whatever way you relax yourself to try to minimize that, because otherwise this hormone would run very deep problems for you in the body. Next. Then there are these two important hormones to understand, progesterone and testosterone. Progesterone is mainly a female hormone, and testosterone is a male hormone. Progesterone in high number causes insulin resistance syndrome, meaning favors obesity and causes a sense of, it causes an environment in the body where insulin is not working efficiently. Now, when it is working physiologically, for example, in case of pregnancy that rises, it is good because that extra glucose is needed for the baby also. Even though sometimes way excess glucose causes gestational diabetes, and we know what kind of problem that creates, and we are unable to use tablets, so we end up using shots to control the gestational diabetes. And insulin is not good. Insulin is atherogenic when we're putting from outside. So it is a big problem. But in the case of pregnancy, that's physiologic. Now, in case of, for example, people that use progesterone shots uh, for birth control, that can create similar insulin resistance issue. I had just the other day a patient that she says, Doc, I have done everything you have told me. I am on GLP drugs too that you have given me, because my philosophy of these GLP drugs is use them the least amount of dosage to mitigate their side effect and benefit the metabolic uh, benefit that they provide. But we both sat down, we tried to figure out, and we figured that she was using depot progesterone for birth control, and we had to then look for alternative means. So this is why this hormone is important without going deep into that. In male, the testosterone starts declining after, believe it or not, very young age, but then it gets very prominent after age 40. And when testosterone gets low, relatively speaking, it is replaced by, unfortunately, those female hormones that tend to create a problem in human body, in the male body. The top problem that we face as a result of lack of testosterone is loss of muscle. And muscle is the tissue that consumes very efficiently glucose and nutrients. And as a result, we are unable to do. And that's why exercise is so important for us. And also fasting helps to boost the testosterone, by the way. And when we lose fat, by the way, understand for both female and male, when we lose fat, we release 20% of this active hormone back into the circulation, which is very vital for us to get our body back in the order. Next. There are environmental obesogens for which you cannot do anything about, right? So you can only do something what you can do, meaning pick up your food in a smart way, in a knowledgeable way, and also do your exercise and do your fasting, because there's nothing you can do about these environmental obesogens. And these are, I've put some of these: poor air quality. What can you do? Go move in those blue zones that the World Health Organization has recommended. And that's not going to be possible for majority of the people where air is pure, right? So there is nothing you could do about your personal care products, because these obesogens are in them, and you're not going to be able to stay away from those. Likewise, PVC plastics, drinking water coming through those pipes, there's nothing you could do about that. Food packaging, the microplastics, these cleaning materials, and also one of those obesogens that are written there, that foods that don't meet the cellular needs. You see, foods that don't meet the cellular needs are not good for us. Why? Because they will only create obesity and toxicity in our body. That's why people that eat these fast foods, these over-the-shelf things, these Cheetos, these potato chips, they're always hungry, because their cells are never satisfied, and they keep signaling through the hormones, eat, eat more, eat more. And that addiction, everlasting addiction, vicious cycle continues. Next. So, and then one other problem that we see that is stacked us against us is gut microbe change, which, like I said, are the best friends that human body got. They are our best friends. Why? Because not only that they produce those short chain fatty acids, which are very, very, very important for our body. They serve as an important fuel and an important promoters of mitochondrial function, which are the energy storehouse of every cell. But also, when they die off and slog off, their refurbished material is utilized in the body for cellular byproducts, like one of them is mitochondria. So healthy microbe is the key to our health. How do we keep them healthy? Well, I told you at the start of the talk, give them fiber. Fiber is prebiotic. Fiber is their food. You gotta provide that food to them. They will be healthy. They will leave you alone. What I meant to say, leave you alone, that if you don't feed them, they will feed on your gut. They will make holes through your gut, which will cause what? All the sewer material to leave the gut and get into your circulation and cause chronic inflammation, which would never leave you alone. The diet is a change in a diet is, of course, killing our microbes. For example, fructose, I give you an example, that is half part of the sugar, table sugar, kills your microbes. They cause permanent change in them. These artificial sweeteners, they destroy those gut microbes. Now, in case of age, change in gut microbes in an elder is something that they perhaps cannot do anything about. But we have seen healthy older people that they look extremely healthy is because their gut microbes are healthy. So we got to understand. And one is mode of birth. Vaginal delivery of a child gets a gift of the bacteria from mother to the child. Imagine one of the best gift comes through the natural birth. Of course, if the birth is possible through the C-section because of medical necessity, that's a different story. And medications are killing our bacteria, particularly antibiotics. Now I see patients demand antibiotics. Even though doctors are not inclined to prescribing those, they ask for it, even though they have a viral disease. Please stay away from those antibiotics because they destroy your microbes. And then when they get killed, it is replaced by those microbes that are not your friends. Those are called pathogenic microbes, opportunistic microbes that would run havoc in your body and your intestine. That's why many people suffer from gut problems. They have always gut issues and they are never healthy. Their mood changes too because, according to some evidence, these microbes produce one of the contentment hormone in our body, neurotransmitter called serotonin. So absence of serotonin causes us to feel depressed, and we have to give medications to help you get the serotonin back in order. There are some examples that my assistant has created that to show you, look at the poison that they have created, and we happily buy it with our dollars. When it comes to buying a food, they say food is expensive. The other day, I made a short clip. I made an omelette with my children and I did a cost analysis. It was 15 bucks for 5 people, egg omelette. Go and buy in Dunkin' Donut where you will make a line, spend 20 minutes and get a poison in your hand, and you will be spending far more than $15, I can assure you, for 5 people. These are the poisons that we're putting in people. This is, hey, we got to get rid of them. And the only way, I mean, so people say there's nothing we can do. I say, yeah, we vote every day with our fork. We can say we're not buying it. There is no demand. Nobody will be bringing them in the market. But guess what? Food industry is strong, and they have created this concept, very beautiful concept that is being sold throughout the world, calories. You know, that scam started from this concept that a calorie is in a soda is equal to the calorie of an apple. You know why? Because then you would have a moral equation or moral understanding. Hey, I'm putting calories in my body. You absolutely not putting calories in your body. So we are not calorie meters, by the way. Human body is a delicate machine created by God for a purpose. So we got to understand that every time we will bypass natural pathways created by the God Almighty Himself for us, then we will have to pay the price, whether that's in the form of bad food option or in the form of not doing what we are supposed to do for fasting and exercise and all those things. Every single organ in our body needs rest. You sleep, your heart rests, your lungs rests, your brain rests, your muscles rest. Why poor intestines don't have the right to rest? And they are, by the way, the largest geography in the body after skin. So how could we not give them a due attention, the 20 feet long structure in our body, so that it has the time to kill old cells, make it more smooth again, the lining where the food gets absorbed, and that happens only when we stop eating. Next slide. So again, people are big on probiotics, probiotics, probiotics. They're being selling these probiotics. Hey, if your intestine is inhospitable to your bacteria, you are not going to do anything with those probiotics. You could keep putting them in your body. They will cause you gas in the body, those probiotic capsules. And people all the time take them. So I would ask you a question. If you consume probiotics one day, why shouldn't those probiotics make a house in your intestine? And you don't have to continuously take them. And they would reproduce in your intestines at a fast rate and replace it. But it doesn't happen. Why? Because your intestines are inhospitable to good bacteria. That's why I said at the start of the talk, prebiotics is the food for them. Actually, this is fiber. Fiber is the food for your, so if you introduce fiber in your diet, your bacteria then will start growing back. Yeah, of course, you should consume natural bacteria-based foods, like, for example, yogurt that has live cultures. Yes, or there are different other food products that has good bacteria that can grow in your intestines. But you have to make your intestines hospitable for the bacteria to continue growing. Otherwise, usage of probiotics, waste of time and money. Next. So I'm going to talk about some essential foods that are very, very important, and some misunderstanding that I'm going to remove here, so that we can be on the same page and understanding is clear. Anayar Bhai, do you think I've exceeded my time, and should I stop or?
I think we can definitely pause after this slide, and we can continue in the next session if we hold another one, because
Okay.
Hafiz bhai, we have almost 100 people, so I think we'll have a lot of questions as well.
Okay.
So yes.
So guys, there are these fatty acids, the fats that I've written here on this slide, that I want you to fully understand and not have any misunderstanding about it. Omega-3 fatty acids are essential for our body. Unfortunately, we don't make it. We need it from outside. Vegetables and fruits and carbohydrates can provide you ALA, but ALA's conversion into EPA and DHA is very minimal, not useful. So EPA and DHA can only be provided by marine life, and marine life of the deep sea fish. Now, what happens? There's not enough fish, good fish to go around. And fish is not the one that makes this. It's the algae that makes it. Algae gets consumed by fish, and the fish we eat, the deep sea fish, for example, salmon. But guess what? They have found tricky ways to confuse us with the salmon too. They have farm-raised salmon, whom they are feeding corn, by the way. There you go. And then they put red chemicals in that fish to make it look pink, so that you confuse in buying pink salmon. Absolutely fraud. Guys, ask to make sure that this is a wild caught salmon, or else you're wasting your money and wasting your time. Maybe you will benefit some proteins from it, but with that will becoming corn-based proteins. I don't know how useful that would be for your body. Now, omega-6 fatty acids are good. They're pro-inflammatory, but we consume too much omega-6 nowadays compared to omega-3. This ratio is nowadays 1 to almost 20, and it should be 1 to 3, 1 to 5 tops. Uh, and this is unfortunately in the seed oils, very pro-inflammatory and no good. And that's where those fries come in, and those all fried foods that uh, outside restaurants are selling us. They're not. Uh, they're not frying those things in the ghee or beef tallow, by the way, because those are expensive. They are frying your food in these seed oils, and you think you're eating healthy. And then these are some medium chain fatty acids. One of the example is coconut oil, very good oil. But the problem is in a high heat, it also has problems. Monosaturated fatty acids, one of them is, the example is olive oil. Olive oil is very useful. It goes in the liver and it promotes healthy metabolism through the mitochondrial function. I always say nowadays that consume olive oil uh, uncooked because olive oil or in your salad, because olive oil, when you try to cook it, this olive oil also have a very low heating point, and then it is not useful for our bodies. So I recommend having 2 to 3 tablespoonful every day in one form or the other for your health. Polyunsaturated fatty acids, canola and soybean, again, the same issue, same problem. So many people think saturated fats are bad. No, they're not. Not unless you have a specific type of a lipid disorder, uh, uh, type 5 hyperlipidemia, familial hyperlipidemia, sorry. And that is a high LDL disorder where you should avoid these dairy fats and saturated fats because it can clog your arteries. And then there is also a disorder of hyperchylomicrons. That is also one of those areas which is manifested by elevated triglycerides, and we don't recommend saturated fats for those patients. Those you can easily figure out when you go to a doctor. They could order a test for you. But majority of the patients should be able to utilize a fat and protein-based food and complex carbohydrates without problem. And of course, trans fats are very dangerous and quite uh, uh, lethal for the body. So let's not forget, you do not make bad cholesterol without carbohydrates. Here is my little slide that I created, a very simple slide. When I presented this in Tahir Heart Institute in Rabwa, Pakistan, one of the medical students said that this was fun way to learn it, is because it is simple. No carbohydrates, liver's ability to make triglycerides is gone, meaning no excess carbohydrates, your liver would not be making triglycerides. If there are no triglycerides, you're not going to make VLDL, which are the transport of the triglycerides to the tissues. They are the one that, when they offload, they create small LDL, which is the most atherogenic of the cholesterol, by the way. This is over 1,000, should be the target to keep it under 1,000. This is most atherogenic. And sad thing is that statins do not work on it. What works? Right here, controlling these carbohydrates. You see that? So that's why we got to understand. And then this is the what that produces the HDL at the recycled HDL. It goes back to the liver.